Chapter 1, 2 Tickets. Leo had a kind face and smart brown eyes. He usually had a friendly smile, but today there was no smile on his face. He wasn't happy. I wish I was rich like Tom, he thought, but I'm just plain Leo. Anna likes me, I know she does. She thinks I'm kind and nice, but she thinks I'm boring too. Boring old Leo, that's me. Leo had 2 tickets for a movie. There was a red rose on the table in his living room. He took the rose and the tickets and went out. An hour later, Leo arrived at the door of Anna's apartment. When she opened the door, she didn't smile at him. "Oh, hello," she said. "What? Don't you remember?" Leo asked. "It's Sunday night. We're going to the movies. I have the tickets." "It's the new film you wanted to see," Leo said. "What do you mean?" said Anna. "I can't go out with you tonight. I'm busy." "I don't remember. But I called you on Thursday," Leo said. "You said you wanted to come." Anna pushed her beautiful dark hair out of her eyes. She didn't look at Leo. "Oh dear," she said. "That was silly of me. I'm really sorry. Please don't be mad, Leo. Come back tomorrow. We'll go see the movie tomorrow." She began to close the door. "Anna," Leo said angrily. "You're going out with Tom, aren't you?" "I know you are. Let me tell you something about Tom. He's rich, but he's not a good man." "You're being foolish, Anna." He stopped. Anna wasn't there. "I'm talking to the door," he thought angrily. He looked at the rose in his hand and threw it on the ground. Behind him, he heard a quiet laugh. He turned. A man stood on the stairs. His clothes were fancy and he held 20 red roses in his hand. It was Tom. "Oh, Leo," Tom laughed. "Is she busy tonight? Doesn't she want to go out with you? I'll try now. Maybe she'll go with me." Leo didn't answer. He quickly walked away and went down the street. It was a hot Sunday evening. There was no wind. Many people were outside, sitting in parks or cafes. Young men and women were laughing and talking. Leo didn't want to look at them. He felt too sad. He took out the 2 tickets. "I paid for these," he thought, "and it's a great movie. I'll go without her. I'm not going to think about Anna. I'll watch the movie and enjoy it." The Plaza Theater was a big old building in the center of town. The doors weren't open yet, so a crowd gathered outside. Leo waited with them. When the doors opened, people rushed inside to the ticket booth, but Leo already had his ticket, so he waited outside. It was 8:27 p.m., and at that moment, the earthquake hit. Chapter 2, A Table for Two. Tom stood at Anna's door, watching Leo leave. He looked carefully at his own clothes and shoes. Why didn't she open the door right away? She was inside, he wondered. Suddenly, the door opened again. "Anna, my dear," Tom said, "you look beautiful." He stopped. Anna didn't look beautiful. Her face was red, and she looked upset. Leo said something to her, Tom thought. What was it? That guy doesn't like me, and I don't like him. He followed Anna into the living room. "I'm almost ready," she said. "Have a drink. I'll be back in a minute." Tom knew Anna's living room well. He walked over to the table and poured himself a drink. Then, he sat down in a fancy armchair. He liked the room. There were lovely paintings on the walls, and everything looked expensive. Anna lived with her mother. Her father had passed away. Before he died, Mr. Taylor had a good job. He owned cars, had many friends, and a lot of money. But the Taylors weren't rich anymore, and Anna's mother was sick. The doctor came often to see her. Sometimes Mrs. Taylor had to stay in the hospital. She needed good food and expensive medicine. The Taylors didn't have much money now. Tom didn't know about the Taylors' money problems. He saw the paintings, the jewelry, and other expensive things, and he liked them all. Anna. Mrs. Taylor called weakly from her bedroom. "Are you there, dear? What are you doing? Is someone with you? Who is it?" Tom heard Anna answer. "It's okay, Mom," she said. "It's just Leo. We're going to see a movie." Ah, thought Tom. So, Mrs. Taylor likes Leo, not me. Tom took another sip of his drink. "You might not like me, Mrs. Taylor," Tom thought, "but your daughter does." "Oh yes, she likes me a lot." He smiled to himself. 10 minutes later, Anna came back into the room. Her dark hair was lovely, her big brown eyes were sparkling, and her dress was very pretty. She smiled brightly. "Hi, Tom," she said. "I'm ready now." Tom set down his drink and stood up. "We're going to have an amazing evening," he said. It was very hot outside. Tom drove his car fast, and Anna felt the breeze in her hair. It felt good. Leo doesn't have a car, Anna thought. She turned to Tom and asked, "Where are we going?" "I'm taking you to the Oasis," Tom said. "It's the best restaurant in town. Very pricey, but only the best for you, Anna. I know a lot of girls, but you're the most beautiful." The Oasis restaurant was 2 kilometers outside of town. There were many fancy cars parked outside. Tom pushed open the door. Inside, it was dimly lit with small, pretty lights on each table. Soft music played, and a few people were dancing. "Good evening, sir," the manager said. "I called earlier today," Tom said. "I need a table for 2. "Of course. Please follow me," the manager replied. Tom and Anna followed him to the back of the restaurant. Their table was near the kitchen door. Waiters were going in and out with food and drinks. Tom looked at the manager, annoyed. "I don't want this table," Tom said. "We're going to dance later. We want to be near the dance floor." "I'm sorry, sir," the manager said. "We're very busy tonight. Next time, come early, and I can give you a better table." The manager began to walk away. "Wait a minute," Tom said. "I'm not happy with this." "You have to." "I'm very sorry," the manager repeated. "I can't move you now. Maybe later." But Tom started. People were starting to look at him. Anna looked down at the floor. Tom always did this. He always wanted the best spot in the restaurant, the theater, or even at football games. Anna put her hand on Tom's arm. "This table is fine," she said. "I don't want to move." "Be quiet, dear," Tom said. "Let me handle this." He turned back to the manager. "Now," Tom said, "you listen to me." "Everyone staring at us," thought Anna. She grabbed his arm again. "I'll be back in a moment," she said. "I'm going to the washroom." She walked through the tables toward a door at the far end of the restaurant. She saw couples dancing. Older people were chatting and laughing. Everyone looked happy. The washroom was outside, in a small garden. Anna stepped outside into the garden. It was 8:27 p.m., and at that moment, the earthquake struck.
Chapter 3. Anna's Story. The ground moved under Anna's feet. Help! What is it? What's happening? She thought. There was a terrible noise, and she looked up at the sky. Maybe it was a plane. Suddenly, the lights went out and it became almost dark. Then people started screaming. Anna didn't move. She couldn't move. It's an earthquake, she thought. Oh no, please no. The ground moved again. A long crack started to run from the bottom of the wall in front of her to the top. Then the wall opened, and Anna could see the people inside the restaurant. They were trying to run. Their screams were terrible. She could see hands pushing and pulling. She saw their faces and eyes filled with fear. Then the wall fell, and the roof came down. Anna couldn't see the people anymore. The Oasis restaurant was gone. It was only rubble. Anna still couldn't move or scream. Tom is in there, she thought. Tom, the manager, and all those people, they. Oh, I can't. There was another loud noise behind her. Anna turned. Another building collapsed, and then another. Suddenly, she remembered her mother. Anna tried to get out of the garden and into the street, but it was hard. She had to climb over a broken wall. She couldn't do it in her evening shoes, so she took them off and carried them. She climbed over the wall and fell onto the street. Her pretty dress was dirty now, and her feet were cut. There were people everywhere. They ran up and down the street, screaming. Some people tried to pull the rubble away from a building. Come and help, one of them said to Anna. My little boy's under there. Help me, please. I'm sorry, said Anna. I have to find my mother. There were cars everywhere. Everyone wanted to get away from the buildings and into the countryside. Stop! Take me with you. Take me home, she screamed at them, but they didn't hear her. They didn't stop. I'll have to walk, she thought. It's a long way, but I can do it. I have to help my mother. I must. Anna started to run. It wasn't easy. There was rubble on the road. A roof fell to the ground behind her. A wall suddenly fell in front of her. She climbed over it and started running again. It wasn't dark now. The sky was red and black with fire and thick smoke. Anna had only one thought. There was nobody with her mother. Her mother was sick, lying in bed. She couldn't move easily. Maybe she was hurt. Maybe she was. No, thought Anna. She's not dead. Please no, please. She's okay. I know she is. Mom. Mom. She was in the center of town now. She looked around the square. There were some houses, and the big church clock showed the correct time, but the hotel next to it was destroyed. The Plaza Cinema was in the same square. For the first time, Anna stopped and watched. Firemen and police carried people out of the cinema. What happened? She asked a girl. The roof fell, the girl said. Hundreds of people died. Maybe Leo didn't go, Anna thought. Or maybe he came too late. She didn't want to think about Leo. The thought was too awful. Anna's building was near the town center, at the end of the street. She started to run again. She saw a huge fire. She could hear people screaming. The building next to Anna's home was destroyed. Men and women were pulling at the rubble. Anna knew them, they were her neighbors. They wanted to find their families and friends. But Anna's building was still there. There was a big crack in the front wall, and some windows were broken, but the building looked safe. "Hey, don't go in there," a man called to Anna. "It's too dangerous." But Anna didn't stop. She pushed open the door and went inside. It was dark. She tried the lights, but they didn't work. Quickly, she ran upstairs to the apartment. The door was open. "Mom," she called. "Are you all right?" "It's me, Mom." "Where are you?" She went to her mother's bedroom. The door was open, but the bed was empty. Mrs. Taylor wasn't there. Chapter 4: My Neighbors. Anna sat down on her mother's bed and cried. Where is she? She thought. Who's with her? What should I do? She stood up. Her feet hurt, so she went to her bedroom to get better shoes. She started to take off her dress, but then she heard another loud noise. Another building had fallen. I can't stay inside, she thought. It's too dangerous. She quickly went out of the apartment and down to the street. Then she stopped. Where should I go? What can I do? She thought. First, she had to find her mother. After that, but no, she didn't want to think about Tom. He was in the ruins of the Oasis restaurant, and she couldn't think about Leo. Maybe he was in the ruins of the Plaza Cinema. Suddenly, she saw a neighbor. The old man lived in the building next door. She went to him and put her hand on his arm. Oh, Mr. Perez, she said. You're safe. The old man didn't move. He didn't see or hear her. His face was white, and his hand shook. He started to cry quietly. Anna shook his arm. Mr. Perez, she said. It's me, Anna Taylor. Where's my mom? She's not in our apartment. You know she can't walk. Did someone take her? Who? Where did they go? The old man looked at her. Anna. Mrs. Taylor. I don't know, he said. I can't remember. There was something, yes. I think maybe it was Mr. Cruz. Yes, Mr. Cruz from the second floor in your building. He carried her down and put her in his car. Yes, that's it, Mr. Cruz. But where did they go? Anna asked. Where? He said something. Said the old man. I can't remember. He said, tell Anna. Tell me what, she pleaded. Please, remember, Mr. Perez, please. He said something about a park, said Mr. Perez. Yes, that's it. He said it's safe in the park. He wanted to go away from the buildings, past the river to Liberty Park. Anna looked at Mr. Perez's sad face and put her arm around him. Thank you so much, she said. I'll come back later. I'll help you. Help me? You can't help me, said Mr. Perez. I have nothing now. My wife, my home. Liberty Park was outside the town, past the football field. Anna started to walk, then she stopped. Her mother was old and sick. She needed her medicine, and it was still by the bed. It was dangerous, but Anna didn't think about that. She ran back into the apartment. She found a big bag and put in some warm clothes and her mother's medicine bottles. Then she ran outside again and closed the door behind her. It was a long way to Liberty Park. Anna started walking. Chapter 5: Leo's story. At the time of the earthquake, Leo was standing outside the Plaza Cinema. Many people wanted to buy tickets and had gone inside, but Leo already had his ticket. He was safe because he waited outside. Leo heard the first sounds of the earthquake, but he didn't see the buildings falling. He didn't hear the screams either. Some debris hit him on the head, and he fell to the ground. After a long time, he heard someone. It was a woman. "Look at this young man," the woman said. "Is he dead?" "No," said another woman. "But he's hurt." I'm okay," Leo said. He tried to sit up, but his arm hurt badly. He couldn't move it, it was broken. He sat in the street, then slowly stood up and looked around. It was getting dark, and only the car lights lit up the street. "My family," he thought. Mom, Dad, but they were far away in another town. He couldn't do anything for them. Then he thought of Anna. She was with Tom. He could help her, but nobody was with Mrs. Taylor, and she was sick. "I'll go back to Anna's apartment," Leo thought. "I can help Mrs. Taylor, and maybe I'll hear about Anna." Slowly, he started to walk. He felt very weak. His right arm hurt badly, and so did his head. Sometimes he almost fell. Hundreds of people were in the street. A woman bumped into Leo by accident and hit his arm. It hurt so much that he sat down on the road, and everything went black. When Leo opened his eyes again, he felt very sick. He tried to sit up and look around. He wasn't in the street now. He was lying on the ground with many other people. Doctors and nurses were quietly moving around them. He tried to touch his head, but then he remembered his broken arm. A nurse came to him. "Where am I?" "What happened?" he asked. "You're in the hospital garden," she said. "Your arm's broken and you have a bad cut on your head too. We can't help you more now. So many people need help, and we don't have enough medicine for all. It's not safe inside the hospital, but don't worry. You'll be okay here. Just rest and sleep." Then she left. Leo watched her go, but then he remembered Anna. He had to find her. He had to help Mrs. Taylor. Slowly, he stood up. He felt weak, but he could walk. The doctors and nurses didn't see him because they were too busy. Leo left the hospital and started walking back into town. Chapter 6: Liberty Park. Anna didn't like walking. She usually took the bus or a taxi. She was tired, and her back hurt, but she didn't think about it. She was with many other people. They all had the same idea: leave the town and go to the countryside, away from the tall, dangerous buildings. A kind woman started talking to Anna. "Is no one with you, dear?" she asked. "Where's your family?" "There's only my mother," said Anna. "I think she's at Liberty Park. I'm going to find her." "Don't worry, you'll find her," the woman said kindly. Anna felt a bit better. "Did you see the Grand Hotel?" said a man. "It's destroyed. So many people were inside. It's horrible." His wife added, "I saw a baby." She stopped. "And the shopping center," said another woman. "The shoe store is fine, but the supermarket is gone." "The center's bad," said a man, "but it's worse to the east. I was there when the earthquake hit, near the station." The kind woman asked, "Near the station?" "No, near the Oasis restaurant," the man replied. Anna began listening more closely. "The Oasis is a beautiful place," someone said. Is it okay? No, the man said. It's destroyed. Many people died, but the manager was fine. He was at the back of the restaurant. It was safer there. I wanted to help the others, but I was worried about my family, so I came back to town. We're safe, but our home. He stopped talking. Anna turned to him. Excuse me, she said. There was a man in the restaurant. The manager was with him when the earthquake happened. Do you know if he's okay? Yes, said the man. He's fine. I helped him out. A tall man with dark hair, is that him? Yes, said Anna. The man laughed. Don't worry about him, he said. He's fine. My friend and I pulled him out of the rubble, but did he thank us? No. He only cared about his car. He didn't help anyone under the rubble. He had a few cuts on his face and hands, but he only wanted to see a doctor. Other people were dying, but he didn't care. Is he your friend? Anna didn't answer. She needed to think. Tom wasn't dead. She was glad about that, but now she understood. She had been foolish, a very foolish girl. She didn't love Tom. She didn't even like him. She loved Leo. But maybe now it was too late. At midnight, there was another small earthquake. The people on the road screamed. They wanted to run, but where could they go? In the town behind them, more buildings fell. Oh no, thought Anna. When will this end? At 12:30 a.m., Anna reached Liberty Park. She looked around. Thousands of people were lying on the ground. Others were standing and talking. She couldn't see well because of the thick smoke. I'll never find Mom here, thought Anna. She started walking up and down the park. Mom, she called. Mom, it's me, Anna. Where are you? Anna, dear. You're safe, someone said, taking her hand. I'm so happy now, so happy. After an hour, she was very tired. I need to sit down, she thought. I'll start looking again in the morning. But now I need to sleep somewhere. Then suddenly, she heard her name. She turned around. Mr. Cruz, she said. Where's my mother? She's here, said Mr. Cruz, and she's okay. But she's very worried about you. My wife is with her now. How did you find us? Anna asked. It's a long story, said Mr. Cruz. I'll tell you later. But I know you want to see your mother. Come with me. Mrs. Taylor was lying on the ground with Mr. Cruz's jacket under her head. Her eyes were open, but her face was very pale. Anna took the medicines out of her bag and gave her some. Mrs. Taylor smiled. Thank you, dear, she said. Anna sat and watched her. Mrs. Taylor closed her eyes and went to sleep. Chapter 7: Thieves. It was early in the morning when Leo arrived at Anna's flat. His arm hurt badly, and he was very thirsty. The street was quieter now. Most people were in the parks or countryside, but a few men were working in the ruins of the building next door. They were pulling away the rubble. Leo watched them for a minute. Suddenly, they stopped working and listened. I can hear something, one man said. Here, I think it's a child. Quick, come and help. Leo went to them. I can help, he said. One of the men looked up and smiled. Don't be silly, he said. You need 2 hands for this job. Go and sit down. Slowly, Leo went up the stairs to Anna's flat. The building was dangerous, but he didn't think about that. He could hear the cries of a child. He felt terrible. Then, he felt something under his foot. He looked down. It was the red rose he had left. It was in the same place, by the front door, like a rose from another life. The door to the flat was open. "Mrs. Taylor? Anna? Are you here?" There was no answer, but suddenly two men ran out of the living room. The first man ran down the stairs before Leo could stop him. The second man ran past Leo, but Leo put out his foot, and the man tripped over it. A box fell to the floor. The man didn't stop. He jumped up and ran away. Leo opened the box. It was full of jewelry. Mrs. Taylor's jewelry, he thought. So, the thieves are busy now. He took the box into the flat. He looked around. The pictures were still on the walls. Anna's camera was on the table. Good, he thought. The thieves didn't have much time. They only took the jewelry, and I've got it now. Then, near a chair, he saw Anna's dirty shoes. He paused for a minute. For the first time in hours, he smiled. She wore these shoes last night, he thought. So, she came back after the earthquake. She's not dead. She came home and took her mother to a safe place. Oh, Anna, you're safe. Leo forgot about his broken arm and the cut on his head. He was suddenly happy. I'll look for them, he thought. They're out in the countryside. I'll find them. He stopped. That's silly, he thought. I'll never find them. I can't leave. More thieves will come. I'll stay here and protect the flat. He went into the kitchen. There was no water, but there was some milk. Leo drank it and felt better. His head and arm hurt, but his legs were stronger now, and he could think more clearly. It's not safe inside, he thought. I'll stay in the street. Maybe I can help the other men and watch the flat too. He went outside and shut the door behind him. That day and the next, Leo worked with the other men. He couldn't move the rubble or pull people from the ruins, but he did other things. The workers needed food and water. Leo found water and brought it to them. Then he looked for food. There was a shop at the end of the street. The windows and doors were broken, and no one was there. The manager is dead, a man told him. Leo climbed through the broken door of the shop. He took some food and brought it back to the workers. The child from the ruins of the next building was safe now, on her way to the hospital, but the workers didn't stop. There were more people under the rubble. Leo could hear them scream. He saw a small boy in the street, 2 or 3 years old. The child cried for his mother. She's at the hospital, one of the workers said. We pulled her out. We didn't know about the child. Leo sat down beside the little boy and talked to him. He gave him some food and water. Slowly, the child stopped crying. Leo played with him for hours. Then the boy's father came and took him away. On the third morning, firemen arrived for the first time. Leo stopped working. He couldn't do anything else now. He sat in front of Anna's door and fell asleep. Chapter 8. Home. On the third day after the earthquake, good news came to Liberty Park. Mr. Garcia had a radio in his car. Anna, come and listen, he called to her. There will not be another earthquake, the newsreader said. People can go back to their homes. Dangerous buildings have a white cross on the door. Do not go inside those buildings. Other buildings are safe. I will say that again. Mr. Garcia and Anna listened carefully. Then Mr. Garcia turned the radio off. Do you think it's really safe? Anna asked. Do you think we can go home? Mr. Garcia shook his head. I don't know, he said. But I know one thing. Your mother can't stay here. We'll take her home to her bed. You can look after her there. Everywhere in Liberty Park, people asked questions. Many were worried. Was the newsreader right? They were afraid of another earthquake. Some people wanted to stay in the countryside for another day or two, but others were ready to go home. They started to leave and walk into the streets. Anna sat next to her mother. We're going home, Mother, she said. Mr. Garcia carefully carried Mrs. Tyler to his car. She felt as light as a child. Anna opened the back door, and Mr. Garcia gently put Mrs. Tyler inside. The journey back to town took a long time. There was rubble everywhere, and in some places, trees had fallen across the road. Mr. and Mrs. Garcia sat in the front of the car and talked quietly. They were worried about their flat, their friends, and their neighbors. Anna sat in the back with her mother. She looked out of the window but didn't really see the ruins or the rubble or the firemen. She didn't listen to Mr. and Mrs. Garcia. All she could think was, will I see Elle again? The car turned into Delgado Street and stopped outside their building. Look! Look, it's not there, said Mrs. Garcia. What isn't there? Asked Anna. The white cross. There's no white cross on our building. It's safe. We can go home. Mrs. Garcia jumped out of the car and ran up the stairs to her flat. Mr. Garcia smiled at Anna. You go up first and open the door, he said. My wife will come back in a minute and then we'll carry your mother upstairs. Anna went into the building and started up the stairs. Then she stopped. There was a man sleeping in front of her door. He looked thin and sick. His face and clothes were dirty, and his arm and head were hurt. Leo, she said. Leo woke up and jumped to his feet. He didn't recognize Anna in the dark. He thought she was another thief. You can't come in here, he said. This is the Delgado's home. No thieves here. Leo, Anna said again. Leo stopped talking. His head was hot and his legs felt weak. He didn't want to fall, not now. Is it you? He asked. Is it really you? He was holding something in his hand, but Anna couldn't see it very well. Then she understood it was an old, dirty, red rose. She gently took it from his hand. Thank you, Leo, she said. It's beautiful.